Okay, good evening and welcome. I'm going to call the meeting to order for the Greater Rutland County Supervisory Union Board to order at 6:01. I'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right.
Oh, thank you very much.
Order of business is to approve the agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Lisa. Miser. All those in favor of approving the agenda as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Linda, were you a yes? Are you there?
She said she can't hear us, but... Lisa Madison, can you hear us, or Lewis?
I can hear everybody. Just
I can hear you fine.
Jeff, are you there?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you.
Okay, were you a yes on?
Yes.
Okay. All right, motion carries. On to general public comment. We had anyone here tonight for general public comment who wishes to speak? I don't see anyone. So we will move on to staff and student highlights from Poultney Elementary School. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. I have Jenna Lloyd here. She's going to be presenting on the new SEL curriculum that we've been using this year. And we're finding that we really like it a lot, and we'd like to just share some of those highlights.
Okay, so,
You'll have to tell me when to switch.
Oh, yeah.
so the reason why we decided to do this was we had a lot of behavioral incidences. As you can see, this is October to March data, and we used the same data set as far as October to March from last year to this year. These were the decreases in behavioral incidences that were reported, as well as the suspensions. This did not change as far as children that were involved. There was only one additional child that was involved that has since exited the school, since this data was taken. So this is just coming out of it. This is what we've seen.
Is this the entire school?
Yeah, as far as behavioral data, yeah.
Sorry.
So we have this program aligns very well with the Portrait of a Graduate. So this is what Wayfinder provides for us. It breaks it into different categories. The Portrait of a Graduate skills we are very easily aligned with that, so I put those in here. CASTLE is the main SEL kind of organization out there that people look to find programs. And this program directly aligns with CASTLE itself. That's why we chose this. With each lesson with each unit in each lesson, which is K to 6, which is what we used it for. It comes with a communication guide with parents so they know what we are doing. It also has a follow-up activity to do with them, as well as the targeted skill. So they know exactly what we're doing in the classroom, why we're doing it. It also includes a clip of the research behind it. So this is our implementation. We've done the layer 1. This is inside of the classroom, K6. This is on a bi-weekly basis. So the lessons are built into this program. It's all online. You can find them. All of the resources are digital. It gives us some summative as well as some formative assessments, just like our SABRs would, or what we're currently using. We can actually compare our data, and that's how we have done it this year. Layer 2 is we're using it for our data collection for kids that we might need to swoop into groups. We might have some targeted skills to work on with those kids. And layer 3, we really can use it for the data collection as well as going on throughout the grades, which is helpful for our EST plans or 504 MTSS. This is a sample 5th grade lesson. So it always begins with, what are we trying to do with the students? So in this one, we want to name what they care about and explain to somebody else why you would care about something. What's important to you, and tell me why. What we care about is the first step in identifying what type of impact we would like to make, and that goes into the 6th grade lessons, which are more of like, what kind of impact would I like to make, especially moving forward into the middle school, into, in fact, our high school. So the activity starts with you dividing the room into 4 corners, all the time, sometimes, never, and I don't know, I've never thought about that. So you read the sentence out loud. They choose where they go. You can choose to have a discussion about it if you see a lot of people, or somebody might say, well, I feel really passionate about this. Starts discussions where it's more student-led rather than me telling them how to, so after each topic, the students can decide what they care about most. So this is kind of the visual of that. It gives you list 1. So this is the first list that they did. And then this is the second list that they did. And then it was posed to them, what did you notice about list 1 and list 2? And we wanted to take a video for this. We
tried.
Did take a video, but the student responses are very hard to hear. So on the next slide, you'll see kind of what the discussion questions were, as well as some of their answers. So one category is like electronics, and the other one is real life. That was one of the answers. One is fun and games, and one is very serious. One category is important. Well, one's more important to everyone, which was the hunger, the homelessness. So it's just starting to shape their own thinking around this. And then what the students identified at the end, the activity was identify something for yourself that you would articulate why that's important. See, these are some of the things that they came up with: pets, families, sports and exercise, the environment, personal safety, our community, and games. By games, they meant like we like having fun in the classroom. We value this more than sitting down and doing, okay, great, perfect. Just to elicit some of their responses. So this is the general Wayfinder feedback. So I'm doing this K through 6. So these are kids that Kristen asked to come in her office and just kind of give a general feedback as to how it's going.
They thought they were in trouble.
So they said, the activities are fun. They get us thinking about who we are. They really like it. It's fun to learn something new. So a lot of times when we do this, it'll have a little science component attached to it, and it'll give you real life facts about your brain, or how does this impact your heart, or long term, what does stress do to you? Some kids identify taking care of yourself and being kind and sharing their feelings out. Other kids liked that there wasn't so many questions that I'm asking them to know. It's more, we can just reflect about it. We don't have to be right, we don't have to be wrong. And I think that allowing time in the classroom for that, and not having it be, very, regimented, where they themselves, really helps to bring the students together. We've noticed a lot of bonding amongst students that you wouldn't generally see. It does have a journaling component to it. And then if there's new thinking, a lot of kids identified collaboration and empathy. We do a lot of collaborating activities together. This was the staff. Do you want to do staff?
The staff's really excited, and it's been a lot easier to have the counselors support the teachers in the program. Instead of adding something new, we're trying to help in that regard this year. We have plans to move it to move next year to have it be more of a teacher base, but now it's kind of the combination, if you will, so we're almost like in the training year, would you say?
Yeah.
Different perspectives, obviously. They carry over the tenets into the morning meeting and classroom conversations, and students engage in journaling, and that they're learning reflective practices, which we all know is a higher level of thinking, self-reflection, games and activities engage the students. And it is interesting because when I walk in and I'm observing a lesson, the kids are like right into it. They're down on the floor, taking their heart rate, whatever. I mean, it's been really cool to see. What else? Oh, positive feedback from families. When we've had notes out to parents or contacted parents, just here and there, talk to them at open house. They like the communication piece. And I also think it's really cool that it ties to the tenets of the Portrait of the Graduate as well. It aligns nicely.
So just to wrap it up, this is what we are doing with our data currently. We are taking, when it comes in, the data that we get from the funder, so the little kids K through 2, the teachers fill it out, the older kids 3 through 6, they fill it out themselves. With that summative data, we meet with Kristen as well as the other counselor and the teachers, and we kind of go over, do you think this is accurate? Do you think the kid was just clicking through it? What do you notice in the classroom? Let's have some feedback and some dialogue about this. I have created some groups based off this, so I can target kids at a certain grade level that really have all of the same skill set that they need to be working on. So I can really grab all of them in one grouping to work on that based on the data. We have cross-referenced it with Savers, which we are currently using as well. We have been able to use some of these summatives as well as some formatives for our layer 2 and our layer 3 for our MTSS data going forward. Gives us a direction as far as goals as to how to track it and what we should specifically be working on. We do check-in, check-outs for layer 2 with several kids that may fluctuate. And our ongoing level 3, we meet one-on-one with them or in small groups. And that's how we're meeting the needs of our kids as far as SEL. Oh, sorry, this is how the data comes out. So as you can see, it's out of 5. So when the kids' data gets spit out, we see how they're doing, whether it is a formative, a summative, the date, and the score is out of 5. So we would obviously flag some of these lower students, just as an example.
And there's one more component that we can use, the waypoints, and it really looks like the Vermont annual snapshot. It's kind of in that format. And so we can look at a class, for example, and say, this class as a whole looks like they're struggling with empathy, or...
With this program, teachers have the ability to go in and search by category. I would like something to work on empathy, and I want a 20-minute lesson. And it's going to generate 15 different lessons. They can go in and they can see which one is going to work for my group. And they can basically find games, SEL activities to do with their kids on demand.
Great. Thank you so much.
Can I make a
Oh, yeah. Did you have a question?
No, I just want to make a comment. This really strikes a chord with me because coming from a longtime teacher, and my master's program my master's thesis was on how an SEL program impacts student performance. And you summed it up so well. You talked about behavior, that's what got you started, but it's going to impact their performance, their academics so much, because all these things you're teaching them that will carry over when you talk about characters in English class or science labs or whatever they're doing, working together. It's really powerful, and I think you're trendsetters, and it's important work you're doing. Thank you for sharing it.
Thank you, Jen.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you again for coming and sharing.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, we're going to move on to consent agenda. We have the minutes and warrants. If there's no questions or changes, we'll...
So moved.
So moved for the warrants and the minutes, or both?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, any discussion?
Excuse me.
All right, motion by Lisa to approve the minutes from April 1st and the warrants. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. On to superintendent's report.
Thanks, Eric. I know as we hit May, particularly after spring break, it's kind of that false spring for educators where you think, oh, we're almost there, but you realize we still have a ways to go, particularly with 6 weeks left. But I did list in here the graduation dates and times just for your reference. I know that there are a lot of other special end-of-the-year activities that each of our schools will be offering, a variety of programs, opportunities, but they'll be talking about the board, at the local board level, just so you have a better understanding where they're at with that. The majority of my report really was centered on, I know people are talking about what's going on with the legislature, around age 454. It's a bit of a moving target. I know that on Friday, the Senate Ed voted out 6-0. This week, it is in the Senate Finance Committee, so we'll kind of see where it's at. But I know that the VSBA has, I think this afternoon, we received a very detailed side-by-side analysis between the House and the Senate, as well as the Legislative Council also provided a copy of this. So there's just a lot of information. I'm sitting here with all these documents. But what I've been trying to do in my reports is try to break it down to as simple language as possible, just to have a better understanding of really what the impacts are between the House and the Senate Ed. I know that the VSA, we meet on a weekly call, and yesterday when we met, we were a bit surprised with, as we see what's going on with the Senate, just in terms of scaling back, in terms of some of the language, is some of the key points that we are seeing, obviously, is the no language around class size minimums, which the House had set some very clear standards around this. Tuition, particularly around independent schools, the drop from 50% to 25%, around publicly funded students. But there's also language or tuition around the CTE, which is kind of buried in there, that we had discussed that there is language that says that we will pay the full amount for a CTE school. So if Stafford would say to set the tuition at $25,000, then we are on the hook now for $25,000. We're no longer capped. So that's something which obviously we are, as a superintendent's group, are concerned about in terms of
Huge.
cost. But obviously, we'll wait and see where this is at. But I would encourage people to kind of go through and look through this to see where we're at. But another concern I think that we look at is the redistricting, or the drawing of the map, that the proposal was around having a kind of a combination of people in the field of education, some board members, legislators, so you kind of had a wide perspective in terms of what the state of Vermont may look like after this redistricting. The Senate Ed has reduced that to an 8-person task force, considered of just 8 members of the House. 4 members of the House, 4 members of the Senate. No political affiliations, with regard to that, but that would be it. So our concern is, do these whoever these members of the task force be, do they really quite understand the complexities of redistricting and what that may look like? Because I know that in looking at this, I do believe that that task force would have to present at least one proposal by December 15th. And they also have to have an alternative plan, that if they, don't have a plan or can't get their act together, that there will be something else that'll happen by January, I think it's January 26th or 25th, I think it is, where that task force sunsets. So there's just some things for us to keep an eye on in terms of what's going to happen, what's going to occur.
It's not surprising. The Senate Ed has said it all along, that the senator from Proctor said he thought it should only be people from the Senate or the House on that task force, so. Yeah, I mean, the VSBA was supposed to testify today in front of Senate Finance about it, and I think at the bottom of the email also, it included the implications of foundation and like that. They were showing how that would
Yes.
impact districts, schools, issues.
Right, I know Louis and I think the VSBA in their weekly update, they did include a document which Louis and I took a look at around the foundation formula, what
Yeah.
the potential impact. I know that with that, the question I was asked is, well, how are we going to fund this? Where will this money come from? So if a district might see, influx of funds, in 2028 or whenever this would go into effect, but that money has to come from somewhere. And I think that's just where, we're at. I know that the conversation also was that the public would no longer vote on that. Once you have the foundation formula in place, that's just what it is. And so
Yeah.
the public would no longer vote on budgets. So they would just have to incur whatever that tax rate may be. So I think, when Louis and I met today, they're just early days. There's just a lot of speculation. I think there's a lot of things that still need to be ironed out, particularly around the weighting and how that works.
And the health
That
piece.
we didn't really feel comfortable, we don't get too into detail on that, but there is a copy of the foundation formula in that weekly update.
Yeah.
And when we meet again in June, we may have a better understanding of terms of what the next steps will be, but.
Well, and some of the other things in the miscellaneous bill, wanting to have the threat assessment in place by July 1. I mean, some of the, it seemed like a lot of things they did were move dates a lot. They struck a lot of things from House, but they moved a lot of dates to July 1, August 15th, just randomness. Didn't seem to be any rhyme or reason.
Yeah, that
to
was
that.
H480, right, the miscellaneous
Yeah.
education bill, so, and the behavioral threat assessment, which is, there's a lot to that. We do have a policy in place already, which is nice, but still the formation of a team.
Team, yeah.
and, having all this, it's gonna take some time. And I think one of the things I don't quite understand is, it looks great on paper, but it's very difficult to mobilize and get this ready to go. There's also in 480 around the emergency response plan, particularly around cardiac emergency readiness.
Yeah, the AEDs, yeah.
Right, AEDs, around athletic directors, coaches, which, I could personally attest to the importance of an AED. We had a situation years ago at one of our sport events, which an AED actually saved an official's life. So it is an important response, but just to understand what that is, I know that there is concern about being able to train everyone in CPR and what it may be, but, and then there's also obviously school library selection process, another aspect of 480, kind of gets tucked in there a little bit, but, so there are a lot of things we're keeping an eye on, but 454 obviously is the one that's, it's getting the most press, as it should, just because but like I said, I'm sitting here with probably 60 pages of just documents around this, and it is a lot to go through, but, I said part of, and I will update my superintendent's report as we get new information around this, but my goal really is in the side-by-side is try to simplify it and put it as plain language as possible, just to understand, because if you get the document on the legal counsel, there's just a lot in there, and just to sift through it, and, but that is our ultimate goal, is just to have an understanding of what that means for us moving forward, so I'll be more happy to answer any questions as best I can on any of this, but.
Any questions? Okay. New Assistant Superintendent's report. Lisa?
Good evening, everybody. I know you have my report. I don't have too much else to add to that other than just it's beyond the landscape that Chris has been describing, just an exciting and busy time of year in our schools, and I feel very privileged to have gotten to take a small part in seeing and participating in some of the school-based activities going on. Our teachers and principals are working so hard to celebrate student learning and to host different events and activities to engage families and bring them into the schools in a variety of different ways. So it's just such a pleasure to get to participate in those when we can, and to get to take a moment to celebrate our principals and our teachers as we do this week and last week for principals. So just a big thank you to them for all they do. Today I was back and forth to Berlin, 95 miles each way for grant training with the federal grants program. And it is also just a very busy time of year for grant activities. The good news at the grant training today was that there's not much changing in our CFP application for next year, although of course they can't ever leave it exactly the same. So a few little changes, but none that will impact our schools, more just record keeping on the back end for Lewis and I. A few more pieces that we have to keep track of and take care of. But it's looking like we will not know what our allocation is again until later in the spring. If you remember, last year we didn't get our grant allocations until around Memorial Day, which made it quite difficult to turn around our application by the end of June. We had just over a month to complete that, and it is looking like perhaps a similar timeline this year. So we'll do our best to line up all those pieces, but it's looking like another tight turnaround and a bit of a scramble for us this spring. So we'll keep you posted as we go through, but we don't expect and know for sure exactly where that lands, although we are getting indications that we should be sort of on a relatively parallel track to previous years at this point in time, to the best we can. So I'll keep you posted if I hear anything differently, but we don't expect to know for a while still. And with that, if anybody has any other questions or things they'd like me to speak more about, I'm happy to do so.
Okay, Lisa?
I just had a question on your report. You have, you had the draft of 25-26 priorities for the curriculum coordinator, but when I hit it, it said I didn't have permission. So I was wondering if you could just drop that into our folders so we could see that?
Yes, I can definitely do that. I might be able to even change the sharing permissions right now on it for you, but I will make sure that Christine puts that in the board folder also.
Great, thank you.
All right, any other questions for?
Sorry, Lisa, just there may be a little login thing. On here it says if Greater Rutland County GRCSU email access should have it, so it may just be how you're logged in.
I just got it.
I'll ask her to.
The first time I tried it.
I'll ask her to.
Okay,
also,
okay,
just
yeah,
so
it told me I needed permission.
That's what it did the first
Yeah.
time, but then it just,
Oh, so maybe she changed it, okay,
it just worked.
okay, all right. It wouldn't let me in before,
It opens, yeah.
But the first time I tried it.
yeah, okay. I was pretty sure it wouldn't open for me when I first did it. Wasn't trying to be difficult.
No, that's fine.
All right, thank you.
Okay, if there's no other questions, we will move on to personnel. Thank you, Lisa. All right, so we have some professional staff contracts, support staff. Are there any questions in regards to the contract recommendations presented? If not, I did have a question, because it says on here pending upcoming interviews. So, is that for these, these two teachers, Nicole Adams and Daniel?
Yes, and that's just because that's part of the process. All licensed employees I have to meet with, and because of timing and the spring break, we're able to do it. But
Okay.
in speaking with the administrators, we still have to go through.
Okay.
It's not-
Yeah, right.
We
This
don't
is-
anticipate anything.
So it's just kind of like a preemptive approval, right?
Unless they,
Right.
swear at me or do something, I think we'll be okay, so. But I think it's just more just respecting the process. I think that's all it really is, just.
Okay. All right. All right, any other questions? All right, so I'd like to approve the contract recommendations?
I'll move that the contract recommendations be approved.
Motion by George, discussion. If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Any opposed? Linda, I didn't hear you, or Jeff. Are you guys there?
Aye.
Linda's been having a problem with the
Okay,
audio all
okay.
night, so I don't know if she can hear.
All right. Still the motion carries. All right, on to resignations, information purposes only. Are there any questions? Okay.
Well, I just, I know that we did have with Tiffany Morano leaving coordinator, student services, we are looking to replace that position, but I had asked Tammy Rescott in June when she is providing a kind of an update on special education to talk about that position, and if we are unable to fill that position, then what the restructure may look like. But to have that conversation with the board, so.
All right. Okay, we'll move on to finance then. Monthly reports, did anyone have any questions for Lewis about the monthly reports? All right, then we'll move on to the food service contract.
Okay, so every year we have to re-approve the food service contract. This is for the schools that have a managed service, which is Poultney, Proctor, West Rutland, and Rutland Town. We can renew the contract for up to 5 years total, and then after the 5 years, we have to go back out to bid. So we are currently in year 2 of the contract, so we're renewing for year 3. In the packet, there was 2 documents included. The first one was just a school by school, just a summary of participation and how things went for the year, as well as some new equipment that was added in the kitchens to help the kitchens be more efficient and all of that equipment that was purchased was used using GRCSU food service surplus funds, so no impact on the budget. Currently, we've been running a surplus in the food service account on a year by year basis. So there has been no budget impact on the cost to run the program. The second document is the renewal contract, and on year 2 shows the prices. The price increases are a 3.7% increase over last year, which is equal to the CPI increase. That's the maximum that any vendor could increase their cost by without going back out to bid. Is there any questions?
I don't see any questions. So if there's no questions, we do need to take action on this, as we usually do, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve year 3 of the contract.
All right, motion by Lisa. There's no further questions. All those in,
George has a question?
No.
Oh,
Not on this.
oh, okay, sorry.
all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed?
It's staring at us.
Oh, I see Linda's doing thumbs up. All right, motion carries.
I did have a question on the monthly reports. Started to say that and we went on.
I'm sorry.
On the special education page, under state special ed revenue, the IRA assessment revenue, it says we received to date $492,013 from them, when they only owe us $28,000. Where'd that come from?
I'll take a look at it. It's probably just revenue from one of the other districts was just posted to that account line. But I will take a look at that and have it corrected, and if there's any issue, I can report back at the next meeting. But it's probably just a coding misposting.
Probably, but it's over $400,000. Ira's got a lot of money, I guess. But, thanks, Louis.
That's almost their whole budget.
Well, we're at the end of the year, so.
Thank you.
Sorry about that, George. All right, so we'll move on to new business, if there's no other questions for Louis. Board retreat, so we tabled this to a future meeting, so I think the discussion is to decide if we want to have a board retreat or not this year. Any thoughts? I think last year we had a retreat, right? Yeah. And, typically we meet and we talk over goals, which we did last year. So we can decide to just keep our goals and keep working toward them, or reevaluate our goals at a retreat. What's the pleasure of the board?
Well, there's also the board evaluation that we're gonna have to start doing. I mean, it's not in
Well,
place yet
yeah.
because the AOE hasn't gotten their act together yet. Even though in H454, they certainly have a lot of responsibility, but for multiple years, they haven't been able to set the criteria for this. But it does say in another year or 2 years, we're required to do it. So we kind of started talking about that, I think, last year at the retreat. Isn't that one thing she kind of talked about, maybe, was the board evaluation? So it might be good, even if you just had Debbie come back and talk about that again, because you're going to have to do it at every board level, just to have some idea of what that is and what that looks like, and kind of the time frame and the expectation and things like that. So they say they're not going to be punitive in any manner. We talked about this at the VSBA, and but as we see, things with education change minute to minute in the state of Vermont, so I wouldn't hold anybody to their word.
Yeah. So the whole, the rubric for the priorities
Yeah.
and all that stuff was done back in August for the AOE and
To give comment on.
for them to, and I think the VSBA did send out something to talking about where they're at on that.
AOE's never given comment, so
Right.
the VSBA has put out the rubric, so to speak, but you're kind of still operating in a cloud, because the AOE could come in and say, we think this is all, turnips, and do something else, as we have seen the AOE do lately. But, I mean, that's just one, it covers a lot of things, so it's not the worst thing to have her come and chat about, or, I don't know, that would be my primary suggestion, but if we don't have one, it's not gonna break my heart either.
Well, my understanding is that all boards have to do it by, by June 30th, or July 1st, I should say. And, so the governance standards are in place, but there's nothing to go through and assess yourself with, and that's
Right.
where, we developed that back in August. And then the AOE was gonna review it, and I don't know if folks seen it, but the VSBA sent out something about it, saying that the AOE, or they wanna work with the VSBA on finishing it. Well, my thought is, the clock's running out here, they gotta have something in place by the time boards set their agendas from June or something.
Right.
So,
Well, I think that's why they said that this is kind of like
Yeah.
a trial period, go through, see what it's like. There's not going to be, we're not going to hold you to anything. It's, that was kind of what they said at the VSBA, because since the AOE hadn't reviewed it or sent any comments, that it really doesn't have, I don't know, any weight to it, I guess, because the AOE has the final say on it. That was kind of the the genesis of the conversation at the VSBA a couple months ago when they were talking about it, so, but I'm sure Deb Singer could probably fill us in, because she was the one that spoke about it at the VSBA also, so.
So are you thinking for a June meeting, or maybe as a option for a retreat in July to go over?
I would say July. June is still a lot of stuff
Yeah.
going on.
Oh, yeah, okay, yes. I'm fine with that. And, you know, maybe that could be kind of a retreat/business meeting, I guess.
Sure.
You know, or something like that.
You could have the meeting at the first, and then you could do the retreat after.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep, like we've done before.
yeah.
Anyone
So
else?
I would just direct the board chair to maybe touch base with Deb or
Yes.
whoever, and see if it works with the date in July, and get back to us, let us know in June, if that.
Sounds good. Did anyone else have anything they wanted to add to the July meeting? Yes, George?
You're talking about doing this as part of a regular meeting. I was going to say we should definitely look at the goals and possibly update or change them as needed. And that could be on the agenda for a regular meeting unless it really goes into overtime. You know, we decide, hey, these goals really aren't working. And that should be part of this meeting also. So if this is part of a regular meeting now, you've got the, the self-eval, and then you've got the goal revisited, that could turn into a very long meeting.
Could we look at the
So-
goals in the June meeting, just as a review and see?
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, we could do that. You know, I was thinking that if we're gonna, if we can get her out here in July, it probably would make sense to go through and just have her to go through review. And, you know, even in July, maybe, you know, with what comes out of the legislature, priorities shift. So I think it would be good to just kind of revisit what we have in place, and
Sure.
just kind of reaffirm that's still our priorities and goals
I
around.
mean, bring the goals to this meeting, the July meeting.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm fine with that, and I think that sounds good.
Yeah,
So we'll put goals on the agenda for next month,
For July or June?
June.
Oh, I thought you said July.
As I said, if we've already got a regular meeting and then we're doing our self-eval and then the goals, I don't know how long the goal, rehash will take. We're potentially looking at a very long meeting.
Yeah,
Do we want to do the goals, I think, as Lisa said, in June?
or just
Have-
review them, I
have
don't
that-
know.
Have that ready, any changes when we go into the July meeting with the,
yeah, well, I think because we don't know where we're gonna be at on the board self-evaluation piece, right? And then also, we do have, spoilers, superintendent evaluation in June too. I'm thinking that's already gonna be a heavy meeting. And so,
Well, then I would recommend the July meeting, that unless there is something, like contract recommendations that, we can receive everything, but we don't need to have oral, reports or things like that.
keep
I
it a
mean,
simple meeting, yeah.
Yeah, if it's just the monthly reports from Lewis, then we just receive them, we don't need to,
yeah.
so.
Right. Because we've done that before, where it's just been like a 10-minute meeting.
10-minute meeting,
Yeah,
yeah.
approve whatever, and then
Yeah.
primarily, most of it is surrounding a retreat of some sort.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I-
like that idea.
Yeah. That sounds like a plan. Yep.
Okay, anyone else, before we move on, want to add anything to July retreat? Okay. Then, yeah, we'll have that here, and I will reach out to Debbie. Okay, moving on to the superintendent evaluation process. So this is just kind of like a quick reminder. Back in February, we approved the superintendent evaluation process, and I just kind of just remind everyone that within our board work plan too, we have the survey for all the local members on every board. And it's just a input, and it's gonna come out in like a Google poll email, so everyone will get that email. And again, it's just kind of reiterate the process, so the SU representatives, if there's any questions coming back to local boards, know that what's gonna happen is each of those forms are gonna be shared. They'll go to that board chair, and then they'll have all the input from their board, and then we bring all of that to the SU board so that everyone's input and opinions can be shared when we do the actual full superintendent rubric in June. And all of that was shared back in February when we went through this. So.
Isn't it just as easy that Google reports just go here to Christine and she provides them at that meeting? I mean, it seems like another layer. Because are you sharing those out with all of us at this SU meeting? Or only board chairs are seeing all the reports?
So, no, so what you mean as far as the individual? So it's gonna be grouped for, what we had determined was, that, we went through this process and Tim, I think, yeah, you weren't part of that, that was Tina. So, we had decided that we were gonna make these, Google Forms. And there was gonna be, they're all the same, but one's for each district.
Sure.
Okay, so that all those responses for each district, and then that information is shared out after it's received to that board chair, and then they would bring that to the SU board and share that information, if that makes sense.
Share it how is my question. What are they
In
doing?
executive
with it?
session.
But sharing how? Are you, like, it used to be when we did things like that, then the administrator would take it and they'd say, all right, question 1, the answer is from, I don't know what it is, let's say 1 to 5. So there were no 1s, 2, 2s,
yeah.
but who's doing that? Because if each board chair is doing it, then that's not an assessment across the SU. So you really should be looking across we should really be looking across the SU at that. If all the questionnaires are the same, they should just be coming here to central office. They should take them and compile, Christine should take them and compile them. For question 1, there were 25 responses. This is,
You get a number.
yeah, it was 2.3. Question 2, there were only 10 responses, and it was this.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, not quite sure what the value is when each board chair comes and shares what their board said in the executive session. You've only done part of the work. You haven't taken all the data and put it together.
No, and I think that's what the role of the SU board's gonna do. But yeah, no, I get what you're saying, it makes sense, right?
That's a lot of
But-
time to
but-
send an executive session and do that.
Well, no, because we're gonna be in executive session anyway, going over the whole evaluation process. So this is just, the idea behind it, and this is just my recollection too, was that we wanted to get just that local input, right? It's a local input piece. So it's going to everyone in every district, so everyone here is gonna get the same thing. But it's from a local perspective too.
So it's
Right.
not homogenized. You're not mixing up.
It is. So.
That's what she's saying.
Yeah, so I don't understand why we're going to do that work in June in executive session. To me, that's why, what's the point in going to the board chair? It should just come to one person, and
Okay.
they should take the information and do it.
So, okay, so rather than it just be separated, it just goes out as one form to everyone, you're saying?
Yeah,
That's what I
Okay.
thought you said.
yeah, that's what I thought you said too, that the form is going to be the same to everyone.
It's gonna be the same, yeah.
Right, but when
But
the report, when the responses come back, the response should come to sallyjones.com. She's going to take all of them and she's going to do the data points. She's going to say there were 25 responses for question 1, on that scale of 1 to 5, this is what it was, this is what the average is.
Now, hold on. On a Google form, they do it for you.
Yeah, it breaks it down. You can break it
And it
down.
would also.
I'm not
say-
gonna, that's not gonna do it for us for,
What do you-
who's gonna, it's gonna do it for who?
It would, on the Google form, if somebody sets it up, then the questions go to are the same for each person, but you're saying like it goes to each chairman. Then when it comes back, it'll say, okay, this is what Rutland Town came up with for answers, this is what this person
I guess that's
did.
the question.
Yeah,
Are
and
we
then-
needing to have each district be separate?
Then it would
Or
also
does it all
collate
get
it.
homogeneous?
I'm asking, is that what's happening? Because that's, you're saying it's just coming to the board chairs are bringing it here. I'm just saying that, why not have all that work done before you come here?
It does it automatically.
Yeah, it will, like, it's, yeah, I mean, so, going back to our
So-
multiple executive committee meetings, trying to figure out the process, this was like, we kind of went a little bit back and forth on this too, because we wanted, the whole goal was to get as much input from everyone within the supervisory union as possible, even at the local level. So in some way, this is also, it also kind of checks the box for local, local boards in that superintendent process too, right?
Okay, so
And
when we.
it is a small, just form, right? It's
Sure.
like 4 questions, I think.
Okay,
And so it's really not as encompassing as the full evaluation. piece.
So this is getting feedback on the actual process of the evaluation, not the evaluation itself. Is that what you're?
Yeah, again, it's just, we made like 4 questions that were kind of like encompassing of the different categories in the rubric for the evaluation. That, and this was all shared back in February, by the way. Like, all this information was,
well, not about this going, to everything,
Yeah. Oh,
go
yeah.
to the board chair and like that?
yeah. Oh, yeah. We
Um,
went through, I think that was in February.
So it's gonna be 4 questions that go out to everyone that are a synopsis of the actual evaluation, that it's gonna go to the board chairs, and you're going to bring the information to the June meeting that has already collated what each board, so if I wanna see, like, question 1, what the average was from Rutland Town, and the average was from the SU, that data is gonna be provided to us at the June meeting.
Yeah, everything from the form will be, yeah. All that information will be shared.
I guess, so will we know the difference between what Rutland Town says and what Wellspring says?
Yeah, probably.
Do we want to know that?
Yeah.
My thought on this was that it's just a means to get other input from those who aren't on the SU board, right? So that's the whole point of it, is just from a local level, input that folks can share. And, again, obviously there's some people who don't know, may not be able to answer questions on there, as well as others. So the idea is that you're taking all this information and compiling it to bring it to the full SU board.
Yeah, I still don't get the point for it going to
Individual boards.
chairs. I don't understand that. Well, I'm asking, what is the point of that?
If there was a difference, a perception of one district versus another district, like a dramatic.
But why wouldn't the
difference.
information just go here? That's my question.
If I remember, the conversations was that those chairs, whoever they were, would bring that information and basically share it with the full SU board, which, yeah, no, I get what you're saying. if, and again, if it doesn't matter if it's separated between districts or if it's all one forum with, input from that. Doesn't matter, I guess, in the end, if you think it doesn't,
I guess I would like us all to receive the data in the same format. I don't want to receive the data from you orally in executive session, or from anyone. I want to have it in a paper so we can look at
It
it.
will be.
Then, once again, I don't understand why it's going to board
Because I
chairs.
think the point of
Doesn't make any
separating it
sense.
is that you get perspectives from each district. I think that was the.
But that's, you just said that's the impetus of Google. It's going to do it anyway. It has nothing to do with you or a board chair. That's the way the program is working.
It's always good to explain what's on paper. Is that what you're saying?
No,
Not you, but is that what the point is? I mean, you have paper, but then you want to explain and elaborate a little bit.
I don't think that a board chair can explain and elaborate, because you're only bringing data
Yeah.
from your board. There is no explanation from you.
Yeah, I mean, if it doesn't matter who brings it, then it could just probably be all one document, one form. Yeah. But, again, I'm not gonna be picky on this.
Yeah, I don't see where it says that
The whole
in
intent
the-
was just to get feedback from
Yeah, I
everyone.
get that.
So. Anyone else?
I mean, I guess my question, I guess, so, as far as efficiency goes, I totally agree with, I'm more than happy with it all just bypassing me and going to the SU level. As far as the information goes, though, whether the district should be split up, and I don't care if that's shared with everyone or not, only to say, so if something's like askew, whether it's at this particular point or if later on in the evaluation process, only because so we have 2 brand new board members,
Yeah.
I don't know what other board, so,
It might be
mean-
difficult for them to answer some of the
yeah,
questions.
exactly. So it's
Yeah.
oh, well, this was way off. Why would that, that would be my only aspect. Linda, you've certainly been a part of the district and all for a long time and have interacted. But Jill, she's met Chris, once for probably 10 minutes, you know what I mean? So I don't know what input she'll be able to even provide. So that would be my only thing is if something is really a real outlier, maybe there's a opportunity to lend an explanation. But as far as information getting sent to me versus sent to the SU, I'm more than happy with it going to Christine personally.
Yeah, just one spot. Okay.
And then has a cover letter been provided for it? Because it didn't say any of this in the February minutes, but it does say that a cover letter, because there was a conversation about half point. We had a huge conversation, I recall, about that, if someone was going to have half a point. So it says that an adjustment will be made to the cover letter, so that's been made.
I'll have to check.
Okay.
I can check and I'll find out. But yeah, all right. So, I think, the consensus is that probably one survey for everyone would be better than breaking it down. Right?
No, I think we're okay. You could still break it down. I don't think that's the concern. I think the concern is that all the data is going to one place, and then it's just, if the form we're going on is going to be set up, that it's going to score stuff automatically, that all of that just goes to Christine, and then she can print it out and provide it to us for our executive session at the next meeting. I think it's okay. If you want to see what Rutland Town thinks versus what Quarry Valley versus what another, I don't care if we do that. I mean, but I think it should be both pieces. I think if you're gonna have, if you can have that, and you can have the piece where everyone's folded in together. And you're saying that the program we're gonna be answering the questions on is already set up to be able to do that. So it's not an extra piece for anyone to do that work.
Yeah, the Google Forms is, yeah, you can break it down to responses, so.
Is it already made? The form is already made? Because I saw the evaluation is 12 pages. It's very lengthy. I see why you broke it down.
Yeah, again, it's just for the local.
To sum up things.
But yeah, the
It's
form
already
is made.
It's made.
And-
Is it on the?
No, we haven't
We don't see
received it yet.
Okay.
I thought it was shared at the February meeting. I'm pretty sure we did.
No, but we haven't received it
No, it hasn't gone out yet.
to
Okay.
answer the
Glad it wasn't
questions.
sent out yet, so.
To answer the questions on, I mean.
Yeah.
That's what she's asking.
The questions?
No, the form is already made.
We have
up.
a-
Yeah,
we-
the form is already
yeah.
made, yep. Yep. It's already made, and, I mean, it could be changed, but the thing of it is.
I don't think anybody has any issues with the
No.
questions.
Right.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's fine. I don't have any issue with those.
You want because it was broken down into forms for each board. And so, if you take the one form and you send it out, you can't break it down into separate. And so you would have to send out separate ones. And then you can't, you would have to manually combine everything, I think. My thought is, if you want, you can, the information isn't gonna go to but one person, right? So we can take out the component of it going to board chairs, right? It would just, all those responses would go, but you would have, each form for each board. And so then you would have, separate breakdowns of the responses. So that's why I was saying, we could combine everything for just one form or just send it out to everyone that way too. But I think either way, it just accomplishes the whole point of just that input from everyone, so. Thoughts?
I've shared my thoughts pretty extensively.
Anyone else? Okay, well, either way, expect a form, I guess. One thing we did talk about too, just to finish up, was that, this is new. And we had ideas and we're like, we should do this. If it don't work, then we just change it, right? So this isn't going to be set in stone. And even part of this evaluation process is after it's complete, we review the process to see what worked and what didn't. And I think that's important too, because if we didn't like how something worked, whether it be the timeline or this Google form, or even the rubric we used, we can reflect on that and make changes for the future. So again, it's a new process, and so we're figuring it out as we go.
Yeah, I just think that the reports or the responses should go to one person here. I think that board chairs shouldn't know how individual board members are responding. I think that's inappropriate, so.
And then, well, that kind of, just really quick, leads me to another question. On the Google Forms, it has I think there's a checkbox or something like that to record the email address, who it's from. So do you think it would be important to omit that, to not have that in the results? Right?
I think it has to be in there. I don't think this is an anonymous
Yeah.
thing.
Because if.
Then I think it goes to one person at central office. And I have no problem then.
Because if you have one for everyone, that's probably the only way to break it down by district too, if that makes sense. If you wanted to do it that way, not like we have to, but, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so,
There's something to, your answers on an evaluation when your name is on the
Yeah.
evaluation.
I know.
all right. Sounds good to me. All right, so if there's nothing else on the evaluation.
So the form is going to who? Board chairs or someone here?
Someone here. Or
Okay.
not, yeah, it's not gonna go, I
Okay,
mean,
I'm fine.
yeah, I mean, I heard from a couple people who
Okay.
don't
I'm
necessarily
fine.
like it going to them, so
Okay,
we can change the process.
all right,
you know,
great.
Again, so it doesn't matter to me as long as we accomplish the whole point of having the forum, so.
The Google
And-
Forms are so fun to use. I've used them a lot. And there could even be a question that says, which school do you work at? You know, if
Yeah.
you need that. And I think they're useful. For somebody to say, oh, this is how, what the answers that people's thoughts were, it's pretty useful. That's the whole point of evaluation, I would think, is it's useful for whoever receives it.
Oh, yeah, yeah, I've used forms before.
Yeah.
They break it down, but yeah, and, and I think the whole point too, when we had the conversation in February, is that, when we brought it up, there wasn't a whole lot of conversation on it either, to my recollection. And, or change for that. But, I bring it up now just to kind of remind folks that this is coming and, that now we're making changes, so, but it's fine. So, all right, so I don't see anyone else from the public. Moving on, next
Didn't say anything.
meeting date and future agenda items. Did anyone have anything for agenda items? If not, reach out to myself or Chris soon. If you want it on the June agenda. And again, just for note that the evaluation is on there, so I don't know how long that's gonna take, so. And then we don't have an executive session, so. Nobody has anything else? Take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
All right, motion by Tim. All those in favor? Motion carries. Good night, everyone.